Welcome to the Audacity to Age, where becoming never gets old. I'm Kristie Crenshaw, and this is a place for women who believe life's most meaningful chapters aren't behind them, they're being written right now. Together, we'll explore the stories, lessons learned, reinventions, and unexpected joys that come with life after 50. Together, we'll challenge old thinking, embrace new possibilities, and discover what it means to age with purpose, curiosity, originality, and verve. So grab your coffee, lace up your walking shoes, or settle into your favorite chair. This is the Audacity to Age. Here's a great conversation I had with Lacie Couzin. We discussed not letting others write your story, how to set boundaries, the art of reinvention, the big adventure of solo travel, embracing the role of leadership, and giving yourself the gift of a pause. Lean in and listen up. Okay, well, let's get to it. I'm so excited to talk with you today. Lacie, tell us, who is Lacie Couzin?
So I think I'm a lot of different things as I think about my last 57 years, who I've been, what I've become. And deep down, I'm a thinker. I'm a traveler through life. I look for adventure and opportunity. But what has really brought me joy throughout this time is being a mentor and paving that way for those who come behind me. I had mentors in my life who made a difference for me, and that's who I'm becoming, who I think I am, who I've been, and who I'm becoming.
Right. So, when I look at your LinkedIn profile alone, you have been a part of Ivy Tech for 24 years now.
I've, since 2001, yeah, 25,
Yeah.
25.
That's crazy to me because nowadays it's really hard to find anyone that toughs it out or sticks it out or stays committed to one mission for that long. So I think it's a testament to both the organization and to you. Is that where you feel like you have developed a lot of your mentoring muscles?
Yeah, so I started out as a middle school and high school band director, and I had tremendous role models in that school where I taught. And being able to bring those experiences into higher education has just been the ultimate experience. I get to work with individuals who are fresh out of high school, who are in career transition, and regardless, they have goals. And I can help clarify those, help steer them in the right direction that really feeds their soul. Because sometimes we'll say, oh, this is the job that I want to be. But the question is that what feeds your soul?
Mm.
And what does feed your soul? Where are you in your core as a human? And then how do we wrap your life, your career around that so that it continues to nourish you?
Awesome. Awesome. So here at the Audacity to Age, I like to take a moment and take a beat to look in the rearview mirror primarily for lessons learned, because I know that we can drag along that hefty garbage bag full of BS, but in all of the not highlight reel, the low light, the ups and the downs, there are always lessons to be learned. And instead of holding on to what happened that was bad, if we can take a lesson learned and pull it forward, that's what I'm really interested in focusing with myself and with my clients. Let's stroll through your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, and then we'll spend a little more time on the 50s. But looking back in your 20s, what for you was the big lesson learned, the aha moment? What's the thing that defined that decade for you that is valuable now still?
It's valuable now. So I think it's really two things. One is don't let others write your story. I spent a lot of my 20s doing things that I should do, not necessarily the things that I wanted to do, but I wanted to because I should. And that was a time where I was happy. I was satisfied in my career. I had my son. I was married. We had a little house and two cars, and we had a cat, but it still was a prescription that was handed to me through expectations. And as that progressed and started to fall apart, I realized that I didn't know what I wanted. And so the 20s were just, it was a process of becoming who I should be according to others, and then realizing that's not who I should be according to me.
Oh, sister. Have we had similar experiences? Yes, I can definitely see some parallels there. Is that something that for you now is easy to let go of?
Most days.
Yeah.
Most days it is. Yeah, I can look back on that. Would I want to do my 20s over? Absolutely not. They were great. I'm glad
Mhm.
I did them. I learned a lot from them.
Mhm.
They were an important part of my growing up and becoming who I am today. They were where I started to establish boundaries. I've been kind of a slow learner in life when it comes to
Mm.
personal boundaries. I can admit to that. But that's really just that biggest takeaway was there's a world out there for me, and it's not what other people think that it is.
Mhm. You mentioned the word boundaries, and I'd like to spend a little time there because I know that was very difficult for me. I think for a lot of young women, we don't always stand firm in certain boundaries because we're afraid of hurting people's feelings.
Right.
Do you have any prescription for that, or how did you work through the the desire to set a boundary and still be a good person?
That took a long time. I had to stand firm and uncomfortable in that firmness.
Mhm.
Some of that was with family, and some of that was with relationships. And through each time where I would sit back and I'd ask myself, why does this not feel good? I
Mm,
should feel good.
mhm,
I shouldn't have this unease or these questions that make me wonder why I'm doing something.
right.
And it's once I gave myself permission to have a happy life without someone else pushing me in their direction.
Mhm.
And I won't say I didn't master it in my 30s. I didn't master it in my 40s. I feel
I'm
like
still working on it now.
yeah, right? And coming to the realization of how that shapes a future that is very different from what I thought it was going to be,
Mhm,
and recognizing that taking that different path to be super joyful. It's just not the path I intended. And when you put so much stock in directing, like I'm one of those people who I want to plan, I want to know, not when I travel. When I travel, I'm like hit the road and wherever the car stops is where I'm going to
mhm,
explore. But when it comes to my life, those things that are what make me feel secure as a single woman, as a professional, as an entrepreneur, those things that make me feel good, I want to have a plan.
mhm.
And recognizing that that plan changes,
Oh, yes.
and that's okay. And it's okay to sit in the discomfort of that change and at the same time not have to listen to the sounds around you, the voices telling you either you're not good enough or that's a scary place to go or you shouldn't do this, you should do that. That is still a work in progress, very much a work in progress.
We all are. We absolutely all are in different seasons of life and different phases of careers and personal. That's an ongoing thing. But I feel like you and I kind of obviously we grew up in the same time frame. And so there's a lot of shared experience there. Moving into our 30s now, what was that like for you? What's the big takeaway there? Was there anything that was the big adventure or a massive epiphany that you had that you can share with us now that is still something that impacts your day to day?
Reinvention.
Oh,
Reinvention started in my 30s.
okay.
Um, I'm on a 10-year personal cycle. So I was a middle school and high school instructor for 11 years.
Hmm.
Then I went to school to become a registered nurse. And I worked at the bedside as a nurse for 10 years while
Wow.
I was also at the college. And I've changed my position at the college several times. And so I find that every 10 years, I start to get that itch of reinvention,
Hmm.
and I'm facing that kind of right now too. I've been in the position that I'm in now for 10 years, and what does that mean? And do I need to reinvent again or not? In my 30s, absolutely I did. It was so important in my growth for me to go from being an expert at what I was doing to being a novice again,
Hmm.
and to feel really unsure of what I was doing professionally was tough, humbling,
Hmm.
and an excellent growth opportunity. So not being afraid to reinvent was probably the biggest lesson of my 30s. I got divorced. I was raising a child on my own.
Mhm.
I started to travel by myself and really travel outside the country and really
Right.
embrace adventure.
Mhm.
So 30s is definitely where I started that reinvention cycle.
You mentioned travel a lot, and I love travel as well. Don't you find that when you're traveling abroad, especially not just within the United States, that it both lends a greater appreciation for different cultures, but then it's also like a little gift that you can take back home. Every time I would travel, I would bring back a new recipe or a piece of art or some experience that I tried to implement into my daily life to remind me about that sense of adventure and to kind of cement the memories. Did you do that? Do you collect spoons or anything like that in reference to your travels?
So I don't have a lot of items that I've collected along the way. I have a couple little wooden statues that I've picked up at little
Mhm.
knickknack shops where I've traveled. For me, it's really the memory of the adventure of doing something uncomfortable.
Mm.
My first big adventure on my own was I took myself to Aruba for a week. I
Mm.
left my child, she was maybe 10, and spent a week by myself in Aruba, which is a really interesting place to be solo because that's where everyone goes for their honeymoons and their couples
Mhm.
trips.
Mhm.
And what I found interesting was everyone there was uncomfortable with my singleness.
Okay, yeah.
I'd sit down at a restaurant with a book, and the manager would come sit with me and talk to me. It was like they could not fathom me sitting there alone, which I
Mhm.
thought was really neat because then I had those experiences. I rode ATVs on the beach. One of the guides would not let me go alone. He's like, they're going to go off and take couples pictures. Let's go adventure over here. I went kayaking. Again, the guide was like, you're by
Mhm.
yourself. Let's go snorkeling while they're going and doing this. So it's really collected a lot of
Mhm.
unique experiences that I wouldn't have gotten if I hadn't traveled alone.
Okay, two things. One, I want to clarify, you left your 10-year-old with adult supervision. I just
I
want to,
did.
okay, all right, great. So yes, the child was well taken care of. We want to
Yes.
check that box. And then also looking at the big adventures. I went through that myself, going through a divorce in my 30s, and I find that when you start to treat yourself the way you would want to be treated in a relationship, which you took yourself to the places you wanted to go, you took yourself on the adventures you wanted to go. Did you find that other people got to a place where they were finally okay with you being single?
Took a while. It
Yeah.
took a while. I remember my son saying, Mom, you just need to lower your expectations. I'm like,
Oof.
yeah, we're not going to be doing that. Travel was very important at that
Mhm.
point in my life, and it still is. But I would take one big adventure on my own, and then my son and I would do two or three big adventures together. That
Love that.
was the joy of the schedule that I had as a nurse was I worked weekends. And so I was able,
Mhm.
when I could take a weekend off, I could do it so I could get a 2 week vacation out of it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So yeah, so he and I would frequently pack up and go places together and embark on those shared adventures. But I remember at one point, apparently I was a little less than pleasant to live with because he came up to me and goes, Mom, I need you to take a look at how much money's in the vacation account and plan something. I'm going to go spend the week with him.
So, and how old is he now?
He's 31 now.
Okay. So I'm imagining that, like you set an example of the type of woman that he would then look for, a woman who could be independent and travel on her own and be adventurous. Is that true, or did he go the opposite direction?
So it's interesting. I remember in high school, he always said, Mom, I want a woman who's got a master's degree and who's going to stay home and take care of my children. I'm like,
Okay.
okay, all right. While he was in the Navy, he found a darling girl and they got married. And she is a stay at home wife and she runs the household predominantly.
Mhm.
But he's, you know, there's definitely an aspect of what he experienced with me in that relationship because she'll pack up. She does modeling.
Mhm.
And so she'll pack up and she might leave the country for a couple of weeks to go on a photo shoot. Or he might just say, hey, you need to go visit your family for a while. They live outside of Portland, Oregon. Her
Mhm.
family's in Jacksonville. Florida. So he's like, why don't you go visit your family for a while? And so he'll just pack her up and send her off. So it's definitely impacted
Hmm.
how they work together as a couple. I think him watching what his father and I did well and what we didn't do
Hmm.
well has
Hmm.
really informed how he moves in his marriage and how they move together. And it's really very gratifying to see how he has learned from my mistakes and has been able to take that forward into a successful marriage.
I love that. And I'm the youngest of six children, and my mother was a stay-at-home mom. And I do not know. My head explodes when I think about all the things that she did over the course of a day to care for us at the various stages. We were youngest to oldest, a 13-year span. So hats off to any stay-at-home mom who runs a household and cares for children because that is a 24/7 job. Let's shift gears and move into our 40s, which I think was for me one of my favorite decades because I finally got some light bulbs to go off in my brain. How about
Yeah,
you?
so definitely. And in my 40s, I started to embrace my role as a leader.
Hmm.
As a nurse, I'd had an opportunity to apply for a nurse manager position, and I went through the process, and I got toward the end and I backed out.
Hmm.
And who's to say whether I was going to be a finalist, but I made it through a couple rounds when I backed out of it because I realized I wasn't interested in that life.
Hmm.
And in my 40s, my son graduated from high school. He went on to the Navy. Since he didn't go to college, I used the college fund to go get my doctorate. And I just really started to embrace what might leadership look like. So I accepted an opportunity for an advancement at the college. I was working in the office overseeing the online programs. And then I had the opportunity to become director of academic affairs and do some more work with faculty. So I embraced that. And then one day they came to me and they said, we need someone to take over as interim dean for the School of Health Sciences. And I was like, oh, I don't know about that. It sounds a lot like
Hmm.
leadership. And I wasn't sure I really wanted to do that. And so that's what I've done since 2015. And I've really enjoyed the challenge. And
Hmm.
it's given me the opportunity to give back what was given to me. And that's really where I realized mentorship becomes a responsibility if you have something to share. And I think we all have something to share. And I think
Hmm.
it's not formal mentorship. It's how you move through the day. It's how you move when you speak to others. It's how you set up systems so that others can be successful. It's
Hmm.
opportunities that you share. It's when you share names in the right rooms.
Right.
All of that is taking it forward and paving ways for those to come behind you. And that was the growth that I saw through my 40s. I did leave bedside nursing during that time. I was full time at the college, working a near full time FTE at the hospital when I started my doctoral work. And after a year of that, something had to give because you
Mhm.
also can't do everything. And I want to do everything.
Right, right. So going back to your opportunities and where you had a decision to make and you decided to withdraw yourself from consideration, are you one of those people that does like, are you Miranda in the coffee shop with the pros and the cons list on something? And I love that you knew what I was talking about without me saying it. Or are you someone that just really relies on your gut, your intuition, or a combination of both? What's your
Okay.
plan of attack there?
So True Confessions, I was binge watching the series again this weekend when I should have been doing other things. I'm definitely part Miranda, part Carrie, which is so opposite ends of the
Okay.
spectrum. But yeah, I do those pros and cons because I don't want to make a mistake, right? I want to do it right.
We
Responsibility.
want our brain to sign off on the
Yeah.
decision that our gut makes.
Yeah. Like my Gallup strengths, responsibility is always in my top five.
Mhm.
So I can't let anything
Same.
fall through the cracks. Yeah, I did do a lot of pros and cons. I still do pros and cons.
Mhm.
I also then, as I grew through my 40s and stepped into my 50s, I looked at further advancement. And that's a story to tell because that's a story of lots of ups and downs.
Well, that's what we're doing here. We're telling stories. So let's go ahead and jump into the 50s. So
Okay.
The 50s, this is who I want to talk to and learn from, are women 50 plus. That's why this is here. And so when I looked at the word audacious, I plucked a few words from the Merriam-Webster description, and it is intrepidly daring and marked by originality and verve. So, looking at your 50s now and how you are building this second chapter, the second half of life, what does that look like for you? And how are you audaciously embracing that?
So I had to go through a lesson.
Mhm.
And that lesson was that your impact, your gift, your influence comes from the experiences that you create, not the titles that you hold.
Mhm.
And I was very invested in career advancement. And the universe kept telling me that that was not what I wanted, despite the fact that I wanted it. And it kept pushing back. So, what that's done for me is given me the gift of pause. And pause is so important because, you know, 20s, I was doing what I was should do.
Mhm.
30s, I was embracing a new career. 40s, I was stepping into leadership and learning to be this, mom of an adult. And now I look at that and I'm like, okay, retirement's closer than not. What do I want that to look like? Do I ever want to retire? Maybe, maybe not.
Mhm.
What what is that next adventure? And for me, it's still a lot of questions, but it's having the courage to step into spaces that scare me.
Right.
It's taking on leadership responsibilities that I never would have accepted before and being okay with being uncertain in them.
Mhm.
That's through some of the boards that I serve on, and really stepping forward to say, how can I help others? And being okay saying, I know things. That feels so egocentric. I know things, but I've been through it. And so occasionally my son will text me and we'll end up in a phone call. And it's like, oh, how did I not teach you that while you were home? And you think about all the things you teach your kids, there's still so many things that they need from you.
Mhm.
And not all those lessons are going to come from a parent. So for me, it's being able to tell the world, you know what? I know things
Mhm.
and I can help.
I
And
love
then
when you talk about the power of a pause, and that's something that I speak about as well. Just in a conversation, even putting a pause somewhere for dramatic effect can elevate what comes after it. It can also just give your audience an opportunity to catch up with you, to percolate on the things you've already said. And when we do that in our lives, we're allowing the same thing. We're pausing, which will then literally elevate the thing that we do next, I think. And then it also gives us a moment to ruminate and sift through the important parts of everything that's come up to that point. And that's what we're doing now. So I love that. What are you working on right now that's super exciting, fun, joyful for you?
for me, it's looking to figure out where do I want to go with that influence and legacy. I recently finished my nurse coach coursework. I just
Mhm.
need to take my board certification. I know I can go out there and do the work without being board certified. I want that
Right.
professional certification. That's
Mhm.
important. And taking that forward to say, how can I help you become who you feel like you want to be? How can I help you clear the noise? And how can I help you find your path forward? How can I help you get rid of the other people's shoulds on your life
Mhm.
and really figure out who it is you want to be at your core? No one wants to get to the end of life and says, gosh, I wish I would have.
Amen, sister.
And that's what this is. And
Mhm.
it's working on finding the strength to really step forward in that. Because like I said, I believe I know things,
Yes.
but it's also then taking those last steps to put it out there and to bravely say,
Mhm.
I got this. and I can help you.
Mhm.
How can I help you? Really, it's more of a
Right.
question than a statement. How can I help?
How can I help you? Right. I try to use that if I'm ever feeling nervous about something, if it's an event, a speaking occasion, or something. If I can flip it to how can I help? How can I serve? It takes the focus off of me and puts it on who I'm helping. And then the nerves just go way down.
Yeah.
And I think that's true with any interaction we have throughout life. So let's get to how people can find you and why they might want to. So, first off, what's your preferred social channels? Where can people find you? Do you have a website? Let's hear that, and then we'll get to whatever your one big ask would be.
Sure. Probably my cleanest place to find me is on LinkedIn. And I say cleanest because that's where I have the greatest clarity of focus is on my
Mhm.
LinkedIn account. And I'm just there under Lacie Couzin. There's no S's anywhere, Couzin. And then I do have a website in progress, and it is catalystimpactcoach.com. And those are really the two places that have my professional presence.
Okay. If you had one ask of the audience listening, is there a newsletter they would join? Should they reach out to you for a consultation? What's the one thing that you would hope they would take action on in reference to getting in touch with you?
Sure. Really, I reach out to me through LinkedIn, or you can also catch me at Lacie at catalystimpactcoach.com. I know that's a long URL, but reach out and ask what I can do to help you find clarity, to help you find peace, to help you find health. The joy of nurse coaching is it allows me to bring in my medical knowledge
Mhm.
as well as my professional knowledge and to help bring that sense of well being across all of those aspects of someone's life. And so just reach out and let's connect. Connection's important to me.
Mhm.
And I believe that through connection, we find opportunity.
Love that. Absolutely. So I like to end our time with a fun little question that gives tiny little insights into you and your interest without going super deep. So here's the scenario. It is your dream dinner party of seven, dead or alive, not your relatives. Who are your guests and what are you eating?
Okay. This is a fun question. I love this. So, Dr. White, my high school principal,
Hmm.
he is an incredible man. He somehow always knew what I was up to, despite being principal of a school of over 1,200 students, even after graduating. Florence Nightingale,
Mhm.
an incredible woman of service and of persistence. I had the pleasure of reading her letters several years ago and realizing that the things that she talked about 200 years ago are the things we're still talking about today in nursing. I think that's powerful. Sal Khan, he's an amazing innovator. I had the pleasure of meeting him. I entered a contest to be a VIP blogger at a conference and won.
Wow.
And part of that was getting to be backstage with him for an hour before his keynote.
Oh,
And
fun.
that was fascinating. Yeah, it really was. So I'd love to spend more time with him. Michelle Obama, grace in the face of a lot of adversity as far as public feedback. She stepped back and accepted that role as First Lady and did a beautiful job. And I just really appreciate how she's now tuning into herself and giving herself the space to be who she is. Simon Sinek,
Mhm.
because why and how are my favorite questions. Why does this happen this way? Why are we doing it that way? How could we do it differently? How does that work? So I think he would be a
Mhm.
good add to the table. And then I want to wrap that all around some grounding and bring in the Dalai Lama.
Okay, yes.
So that's my table.
Okay, what are we eating?
So, along with that diversity and the grounding, we are going to have a white wine if you want to imbibe, but otherwise, we're going to do sparkling water with citrus fruit.
Okay.
We're going to have a salad. What you can't see is I've got a hydroponic garden just off to the side here.
Love
And
it.
what's so amazing about that is I've been growing all these greens and a lot of things that I didn't know that you could eat the leaves of.
Hmm.
And so I've been making these amazing salads with leaves that I never knew you could eat that have such incredible texture and depth and spice and flavor.
I'm going to need that list from you for sure.
So that with some toasted walnuts and a vinaigrette, citrus vinaigrette dressing, a little feta on the top. Then for the main course, roasted salmon. It's a super healthy meat, of course, ethically sourced. That would be served on top of a rice pilaf with roasted root vegetables, so
Okay.
some parsnips and some beets and some sweet potatoes mixed in there. A little broccolini on the side with a lemon butter sauce. And then for dessert, we would have a very small, just enough to truly experience the depth of the dessert, a small dark chocolate mousse with a
Mm.
little sea salt sprinkled on top and a raspberry coulis drizzled on top with a couple of fresh raspberries and a beautiful dark bodied espresso to sip at the end.
I am suddenly quite hungry. I think it's a lovely meal. I'll take the leftovers. Lacie, you have been a delight to speak with today. I so appreciate your time that you've spent here with me, the lessons that you have shared. And I know this is not our last conversation, but thank you again so much. And I hope that the right person, the right people, the right organization out there is hearing this and that they can come find you. Thank you, Lacie.
Thank you.
This is Kristie Crenshaw. Thanks for joining me at the Audacity to Age, where becoming never gets old. If you'd like more stories, insights, and encouragement for navigating life after 50 with purpose and possibility, subscribe to my Substack, The Audacity to Age on Substack. And if you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow, rate, review, and share it with someone you love. Until next time, keep choosing curiosity over complacency and possibility over limitation. How will you be intrepidly daring, marked by originality and verve in life post 50? That's having the audacity to age. I'll see you soon.